Why is it that some of the greatest minds in history were silenced, feared, or even killed? Socrates drank poison. Galileo was condemned. Tesla died poor and forgotten. And in our own time, people like Edward Snowden are forced into exile, not for crimes, but for ideas. Think about that for a second. If intelligence is such a gift, why does society treat its most intelligent members as dangerous outcasts? Why are those who see too much always the ones we try to shut down? Today, we're going to explore a disturbing possibility that high intelligence is not always celebrated. It's feared, and maybe for good reason. Because intelligence isn't just knowledge, it's disruption, it's danger, it's a mirror that shows us things we'd rather not see. And that makes intelligent people a threat. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a group of friends, everyone laughing, talking about small things, sports, gossip, whatever, and then you say something deeper? Maybe you ask a question about life, morality, or truth. What happens? The room goes quiet. People look away. Someone changes the subject. Suddenly, you're the buzzkill. That tiny moment, that's a taste of what philosophers like Arthur Schopenhauer believed highly intelligent people experience every day. Schopenhauer once wrote that intelligent people live in a world of their own, and that the more intelligent someone is, the lonelier they feel. Why? Because intelligence doesn't just add information, it changes perspective. Most people bond over illusions, over routines, over comfort. But the intelligent, they see through it, they ask why, they poke holes in beliefs. And that's not always welcomed. Imagine being that person in every room you enter. Imagine being Sherlock Holmes in a world full of Watsons, clever, analytical, restless, yet endlessly alienated. It's no wonder that so many geniuses throughout history were called arrogant, antisocial, or even mad. Because when you see what others refuse to see, you don't just feel like an outsider, you become the outsider. And society doesn't like outsiders. 1. The fear of change. Now let's zoom out. Throughout history, societies have punished the very people who pushed them forward. Take Socrates, his crime? Asking young people to question authority. For that, Athens sentenced him to death. Galileo? He proved the earth revolved around the sun, not the other way around. Instead of celebrating him, the church forced him into house arrest for the rest of his life. Charles Darwin? His theory of evolution shook the foundations of religion and morality. For years, he was ridiculed, accused of heresy, even called a destroyer of faith. Do you see the pattern? The system, whether political, religious, or cultural, depends on stability. It survives on shared beliefs. And when someone comes along with enough intelligence to threaten those beliefs, society doesn't clap. It clenches its fists. Because intelligence brings disruption, and disruption brings fear. Now you might be thinking, but that was the past. Surely today we value intelligence more. Really? Then why do modern whistleblowers, thinkers, and innovators still get punished? Edward Snowden revealed government surveillance on a global scale. Did we thank him? No, we exiled him. Julian Assange published uncomfortable truths about war and politics. Is he free? No, he's hunted. Even in technology, look at the scientists warning us about artificial intelligence. Do governments and corporations listen, or do they silence the conversation until it's too late? Society loves intelligence, as long as it doesn't threaten power. The moment it does, intelligence becomes a crime. But let's pause for a moment. It's not just society that struggles with intelligence. Intelligent people often suffer too. There's a strange paradox here. Studies show that higher intelligence often correlates with lower happiness. The smarter you are, the more likely you are to experience anxiety, depression, even existential dread. Why? Because intelligence isn't just problem solving, it's awareness. An intelligent person notices hypocrisy everywhere. They see flaws in the system, corruption in politics, manipulation in media. They see people living illusions, clinging to lies. And once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. Nietzsche once wrote, "When you gaze long into the abyss gazes back into you." That's the curse of intelligence. The more you know, the harder it becomes to live simply. The harder it becomes to be content. That's why so many geniuses spiraled into despair. Van Gogh, Tesla, Nietzsche himself. They weren't just battling the world. They were battling the weight of their own awareness. It's like carrying a torch in a dark cave. You see more than anyone else, but you also see the monsters lurking in the shadows. So the question becomes, is intelligence truly a gift? Or is it a burden disguised as one? But here's the twist. Without these threats, society wouldn't survive. Progress itself depends on those who disrupt, who question, who refuse to conform. 2. Why society resists the truth. Let's be honest, most people don't want truth. They want comfort. The philosopher Nietzsche once said, "Sometimes people don't want to hear the truth because they don't want their illusions destroyed." Think about that. Illusions are not just lies. They are the glue holding society together. Religion, culture, even politics, these are not always built on truth. They're built on stories, on myths, on collective beliefs. And here's the problem. Intelligence smashes illusions. When Galileo said the Earth wasn't the center of the universe, he wasn't just doing science. He was shattering the story that humanity had told itself for centuries. The story that gave people meaning, order, a sense of importance. That's not just a discovery, that's a revolution. And revolutions are rarely welcomed. That's why society often punishes intelligence. Not because it's wrong, but because it's dangerous to believe it. Picture society as a massive machine. Every cog, every wheel, every screw needs to keep turning smoothly or the whole thing falls apart. Now imagine a single person, a highly intelligent one, who notices that the machine is broken, that the gears are grinding, that maybe, just maybe, the machine is built on a flawed design. What happens if they start shouting? Panic spreads, order collapses, people no longer trust the system. That's why intelligent voices are silenced, not because they're necessarily wrong, but because they threaten stability. Think of whistleblowers. When someone exposes corruption, surveillance, or hidden crimes, governments don't clap. They don't thank them for honesty. They label them traitors, they exile them, because for the system to survive, it must appear solid, even if it's rotting inside. So when intelligence shines too bright, society throws a blanket over it. Now you might say, but wait, we live in the age of information. Surely today we reward intelligence. Do we? Or do we just reward the kind of intelligence that entertains, sells, and obeys? We celebrate inventors who make new apps, but ignore those who warn us about the dangers of technology. We love entrepreneurs who promise convenience, but dismiss those who question the ethics of surveillance capitalism. We idolize influencers who play the game, but mock thinkers who try to change the game. It's not intelligence society fears. It's intelligence that threatens profit, comfort, or control. History is repeating itself. Once again, the brightest minds are dismissed, ignored, or punished until it's too late. Here's a chilling pattern. Every era has its rebels, its outcasts. It's too smart for their own good thinkers. And almost every time, they're crushed in their own lifetime. Socrates, killed. Galileo, silenced. Tesla, bankrupted and forgotten. Even Alan Turing, the man who cracked the Nazi code saving millions, was chemically castrated by his own government because of who he was. Society doesn't just resist intelligence, it destroys it. And yet, here's the paradox. Decades later, we worship these same people. We call them visionaries. We put their faces on posters, their quotes on Instagram, their names in textbooks. Society kills the prophet, then builds statues in their honor. It's almost laughable, almost tragic, and it makes you wonder, who are we silencing today that future generations will call a genius? We don't always exile or execute the intelligent anymore. Modern society is too civilized for that. Instead, we drown them. We drown them in noise, distraction, endless entertainment. We bury uncomfortable truths under memes, trends, and viral fluff. We don't need to burn books anymore because nobody reads them. We don't need to silence philosophers because everyone's scrolling past them. That's the genius of modern censorship. It doesn't silence with violence, it silences with apathy. And in that way, the intelligent are neutralized, not by fear, but by being ignored. So let me ask you, do you think society is right to resist intelligence? Do illusions, however false, hold society together? And if tearing them down causes chaos, is intelligence actually dangerous? Or is it the only thing that can save us? So maybe intelligence really is a double-edged sword. It threatens power, it unsettles illusions, and it even burdens those who carry it. But without it, there's no progress, no growth, no future. So I'll leave you with this question. Do you think society truly fears intelligence? Or do we secretly depend on it to survive? Tell me in the comments. I want to know your perspective. And if you enjoyed this exploration of the darker side of philosophy, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with someone who loves asking uncomfortable questions. Because the truth is, the world may try to silence thinkers, but here, your voice matters.